That recorded. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Connecting Communities with Brian over here, getting ready to hang out with the one, the only. I don't know any other Jeff Patry. Is Patry correct?
It's Patry. Yes, it is.
Patry.
Thank you for
I got
pronouncing
it
it
right.
correctly. You did.
Jeff, we appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us today. Before we dive into this, we want to make sure we say special thanks to our sponsors. We have Apollo as well as Community Pay It Forward and Permanently Skin Artistry. If you are looking to do good deeds, you want to reach out with Zach. If you're looking to build a mobile website, you want to reach out to Brad. If you want to permanently scar your body, you're going to want to reach out to Jay. Do you have any tattoos, Jeff?
No, actually, I don't. I thought about getting one before, but I'm still on the fence. So,
Okay, what is it that are you afraid of needles? Do you not like the pain? Is it standing still for so long?
you know what? Needle's pain, that doesn't work very well for me. But I think it's just a matter of getting, that now that I'm further along in life, it's a matter of deciding on the right one to get, right? Because a lot of people make a lot of mistakes when they're younger, and you can't change it. So now I want to make sure I have the right thing. I want to get one, just a small one somewhere, just because,
I have 10 small ones.
Oh, very good for you. It's amazing.
They're very addicting. Jeff, you and I have something a little bit in common. In learning a little bit about you, I heard, or actually not heard, I read that you won a speaking contest, right, in the 10th grade, and you've never stopped talking since. The funny thing is I wasn't the best scholar in school, and I would wait until like week 8 to turn in any homework and anything. So I laugh at my mother now, and I said, listen, I was preparing myself to network as I'm doing now. So what I did back then is part of my business now. She doesn't buy it, but I think it sounds good. So tell us about your life. So you are a 10th grade speaking contestant, gold winner. Okay.
Right. Well, just briefly on that. I mean, I just put that in my little profile as kind of a joke to explain why I don't stop talking. But really, no, I love talking to people, and that's the key. And public speaking is a big fear for a lot of people. It is for me too. But the reason I put that in there is because not only was it, I came in second place in Ontario. Within the school system, the public school system, because as you know, I live in Canada, and it was also done in French, completely in French. So it was I remember a speech on euthanasia, and how which is a big issue these days, all that medical assistance and passing away and things like that. So it's kind of a depressing topic, but it was actually an interesting topic at the time. So yeah, I won that, and just a speech that I wrote the night before. Right.
Isn't that how it always is? It's that
because I just got that inspiration at the last minute. That's not how I run my business, of course, but that's.
Well, listen, you're a fascinating writer. I'm going to quote you and just read out pieces of the bio that I literally had to stop and just chuckle at. So your youth is defined by winning second place in a public speaking contest in the 10th grade. Here's where it gets. Here's where it gets. He has 2 sons studying in college, a beautiful wife. I love that you wrote beautiful wife as well as naming her, who works alongside of him. And here's the part that just made me laugh. And a cat who really does nothing at all.
Isn't
that
true.
all of us?
Yeah.
So here's another piece I really love because I envy this. I cannot carry a note on my back. So he says, and I quote, others enjoy his karaoke performance. So are you a music star as well? So are we going to see you on the billboard soon?
And I think actually to correct you there, Brian, I think what I said is I hope that others enjoy my karaoke performances as much as I do. I think that's what I said. But
listen,
no,
I'm just saying.
It's close. It's close.
I think we missed some words here.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. No, it's in the billboards here. I just enjoy. It's a pastime. It's something that actually I met my wife at a karaoke event. And so I just liked doing it. It was something to, reduce stress and just have some fun. And during the pandemic, especially when we were all stuck at home, we did that a lot because, we had to find something to do. So it was actually so we got better at it a little bit too. And it was, it's a fun thing to do. And it's a fun way to express yourself.
When I was married, my former wife and I, we went to Windsor because, that's what you do when you're 19 in the United States. And we had probably one of the best evenings that I've ever had in my entire life. And we ended it at this little shack that did karaoke. Now, a few weeks later, we went back because, again, that's what you do at 19 years old. Could not find this shack. Like, it was just gone,
Mhm.
not existent. I'm hoping that it wasn't our imagination or the drinks that we had to create that shack, but it was the camaraderie and the fun of it. Now, again, I can't carry a note on my back, but it was definitely a fun experience in there. So, you have a couple different passions. Why don't you tell us about those?
A couple different passions. Well, did I mention them in my in my bio? I'm just trying to think of
You
what
did.
I mentioned. I did write it a long time ago. You know, you have to give me that.
Fair enough.
So
Absolutely.
can you just cue me on that if you don't mind?
I don't mind at all. So it looks like I'm reading very quickly here.
That's okay. That's all right.
It looks like you are all about healthy people, happy people, right? You're passionate
Yeah.
about that type of environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really enjoy one thing I found that I've always been in some sort of business, right? Usually the sales kind of business. When I graduated from university, there weren't many jobs available in the field that I was in, which was environmental science. Believe it or not, people were cutting back. This was back in the '90s, so I got into the sales jobs, and the training at that point was always about how to close, right? How to get someone
Right,
to buy something, right? And
right.
people
It's all
still
about the
do that.
close.
Yeah, it's all about the close, and you know, the difficult part is finding a job or a business where you can actually not only can you actually make sales easily, to generate that business, grow your business, but also something that is very helpful to people and actually improves their lives. Right? Everyone says that their product improves their lives, but it's not always the case, right? So that's one thing I'm passionate about is helping people make a positive changes in their lives or in their business, whatever helps, right? And a lot of times these days it involves reducing anxiety, stress, hoping not to lead people, not to people make choices not to that don't lead to them becoming depressed, things like that,
For
right?
sure.
So yeah,
So with that being stated, you team up with your wife.
yep.
Like marriages, you guys have roles, whereas you are the networker. Is that correct?
Generally speaking, yeah, Amy does some of that too. Yeah, I'm more the networker. I like to build those connections with people, and she's the one who actually gets out there and
Closes.
works the business. Yeah, closes.
Yeah.
I do too, but she's she likes to do things in groups. Meet groups of
Sure.
people and do it in that way. Yeah.
So let's talk about the business.
Okay.
How did
Well,
you get started with Love Winks,
okay.
correct?
You Love Winks, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
we call it Love Winks by Jeff and Amy, and essentially, it's the sexual health and wellness business. Where that's the overarching nature of the business. But we work with what we do is well, my wife started this last year in the fall, and she had a lot of fun with it. Was doing pretty well with it, and I. Joy decided to join her and make it, a we business, right? Instead of from me to we, right? A we business in February of this year. So it's relatively new for me. But what it is what we do is essentially work with couples who are struggling in their marriages or their relationships, as the case may be. We work with relationship coaches who help those people, all right, and like marriage counselors and such. And we've worked with individuals who just want to get comfortable in their own bodies, right? And the reason why is because people often, we've all heard this before. People say, I don't know how to connect with my partner. Especially in the bedroom area, right? And they're not comfortable with maybe sharing their needs and desires, and they don't really know how to spice things up with what normally goes on behind closed doors, right? So what Amy and I do is we teach people how to express what they want, right? How to get it, and what products would help them along the way. Right now, the product part is easy. That's the easy part because it's a lot of people think, and if I may say this on your podcast, because as you can imagine, when you say
We're pretty
sexual health and
open
wellness,
here. Our
well, yeah, people
sponsors
think,
are
oh,
are
oh,
are
so
very
it's
open.
yeah. So they say, oh, it's sex toys, and no, that's not what it is. That's not all it is, right? Because it goes from all the way from the mild stuff up to the spicy stuff, and as I said, the products it's pretty self-explanatory. People know what they are. The challenge is getting people comfortable with telling us what the issues they're having are, right? What they need,
Yeah.
right?
Well, because
They
you're
may
in
know
a
what
tough
they want. Yeah.
situation. You're like a
Yeah.
financial advisor. And I say this all
Yeah.
the time about financial
Yeah.
advisors. You have to be friends to have that conversation, but you can't be too close of friends, right?
Exactly.
It's one of those things
Exactly.
where I'll
Yeah.
bring you in, but you can't see everything over here.
That's right. Actually, a lot of people that I know do, I mean, I don't know too many people do the same exact business, but even people, a lot of people who, colleagues that I have in this business don't do any business in their hometown, where they live, because just everybody knows what they do, but it just gets a little uncomfortable, going to the coffee shop every day and talking to, the person, could be a friend or, an acquaintance of yours. You
Yeah.
just don't want to deal with that. So,
How do
yeah.
you combat that? I mean, do you I say play local, let's choose a different word. How do you manage your business locally? Is that something you do, or do you branch out as well?
Well, my wife Amy normally does that. So what she will do is meet with people, and not. Here's the thing, okay? As I'm obviously a guy, right? And 90%, without trying to be too gender specific these days, 90% of the business comes from women, right? So
Sure.
if you think traditionally, people talking about uh, sexual health matters and things like that, or sex in general.
Right.
You can imagine, the group of women having like a few glasses of wine, giggling, looking at all the, products on the table, that kind of thing, right? And Amy does that kind of stuff, and she enjoys that too. I've done it as well, but it's not often that you have, uh, uh, sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Couples, right? It's usually just one part of a couple that is there, right? And usually it's a group of women doing that. So for me, in terms of combating things locally, um, we don't really. I mean, this is why I started reaching out to people online, right? And it basically took through explaining, hey, this is what we do, and asking people if they're open, right? And that's the big thing, is asking people if they're open to having a conversation about, whatever they brought up, however the conversation started,
Sure.
and if they're
Is
open
it
to it.
tough for you approaching other gentlemen? Because I would assume that would probably be easier with you talking to another dude than you approaching a female, especially in
that
today's world where everyone is so cautious on what is said and so forth.
that's a very good question. It's not difficult talking to other guys. What the challenge is getting past the joking, that uncomfortable nature that sometimes guys
Right.
have, and they just keep joking around. It's like, hey, let's get to the, like you said before, let's get to the meat of earlier when we were talking. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this, right?
Yeah.
And let's get this done. So that's the big challenge, is getting men especially to reveal, right, what it is, especially if they're trying to tell me something like, I'm lying in bed with my wife, partner, whatever the case may be, and I look over, I want to get something started, but I can't. And when I do, I can't seem to, get things going,
For sure.
and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for guys to talk about stuff like that. It's hard for anybody,
It's super
but
hard for a guy. I mean, we have been
yeah.
conditioned. Now, take myself out of it because I don't really
Mhm.
go with the norm. But as generally speaking, um, we've been conditioned. I mean, how many times do we see that stereotype guy that is talking about how many, people he's had sex with? That doesn't happen. Like I've never been in a situation where I've been with a bunch of guys and they are bragging or talking about how many people that's made for TV, as I call it, right?
I've never heard that either, to be honest. Same here. I've never
Right,
heard
like
anybody do
it
that.
doesn't
I don't want
happen.
to. I don't want to hear that either.
Right. I think
Right?
it's more that females are doing that because they're
Yeah.
they're a little bit more comfortable, right? They're a little bit more open with their emotions when they're in front of the same dudes. It makes us feel weak, right? If we're going to open
Yeah.
up into that piece, finances, sexuality. I mean, there's a whole list of things that just are uncomfortable as a whole. How are you finding to combat that? Like, are you? You said once you get past that joking part, but how do you get past the joking part? How do you know when
Well,
someone's really looking for something versus casual?
I think, first of all, I think if people are joking with me, but if I usually don't bring up the conversation out socially. I mean, of course, but if I'm actually talking to someone, like if they're open enough to start talking to me about it and they're joking around, usually that's just getting past their defenses, right? They're just
Right,
trying to, and I usually understand they're talking to me for a reason, right? Actually, they want to discuss something. It just has to get them comfortable. So it's just making sure I have a pleasant conversation, make people feel safe, right, and not judged, right, and that sort of
right.
thing. Because
I mean,
you
we're
know,
always
uh,
feeling judged.
Yeah, so the
right?
people you referred to before who were bragging about, what their conquest, so to speak, which is horrible to say these days, but if they are, those aren't the people I deal with, right? So usually I'm dealing with people, men and women, but who want to be, more comfortable with their sexuality. Maybe they want to bring more intimacy, to the relationship, and people who actually, and this is the real thing that I'm looking for, is people are actually excited about the potential of adding more romance to their lives, right?
Right.
And that's the
Right. Who
key.
doesn't
I
want
mean,
that,
they
right?
have to
And
they have to
whatever
have the
whatever
desire
that
for
looks
it.
like.
Yeah, whatever that looks like. Yep, exactly.
So how long has Love Winks been around?
It's been around about 8 years. So it
Oh,
started
so
with
it's
a
super new.
It is super new, and there aren't many people working with the company right now, which is great. Just a quick history. Jamie, who runs the company, she's the CEO of the company. She worked for another company that had similar products, but in this business with sexual health and wellness products, from the spa lines all the way up to the bedroom accessories. Traditionally, it's been it hasn't been promoted outside of someone's home, that kind of Tupperware party style,
Sure.
right? And it's kept very private and that sort of thing. And now people are talking about it more. And the products at the time weren't necessarily the best quality, right? So she said that we have to be able to do better. And it turns out that her husband is not only a family doctor, but somewhat of a chemist as well. So they put their heads together and said, we can do better. So he helped design and build these products that were more natural, right? The ones that worked, but from
Right.
the spa line up to the kind of arousal products that work better, and the bedroom accessories that actually are very high quality, right? So that's what I liked when I started looking at this. When Amy, my wife, was working with the company, I started working with the company. I started looking at this thing. This is good stuff. It's not snake oil. It's not, you know what I mean? It's actually a good
Right.
product.
Well, one of the things
So
that I was brought up with the generation of another company. I think they're called Pure Romance. My mom's
yep.
friend ended up selling for them. So the difference that I see between Pure Romance and Love Winks, and correct me if I'm wrong, please do, is that Love Winks has taken more of a holistic approach, not just a sexual pleasure approach, but the well-being, the health aspect. I kind of want to equate it. Are you a Grey's Anatomy fan, Jeff?
I have watched it. I
Okay.
always called it the crying, lying, and dying show, because that's what's
It's so true.
everybody's always
Yeah, that's all they
that's
do.
always
You're
what's
right.
happening on it every episode,
Yeah.
right?
Someone's either crying, dying, totally true. Or getting married.
Yeah.
They do like to get
Oh
married
yeah.
on that show, but
Yeah,
usually
that's right.
only in February or May. I'm just saying,
There you
okay?
go. Okay, there you
I,
go.
I would not go to the hospital in May. They always have something traumatic happen. Um, but no, that's one of the things I was super impressed of is with that. Very much like Grey's Anatomy, they had a spinoff called Private Practice, and they had a wellness center, and they had all these different things to help one patient where they would kind of co-together. It sounds like that's what you do as well, working with therapists, doctors. So you're not just selling sex toys, right? You're selling a
That's right.
lifestyle, right? You're
Yeah, a lifestyle,
selling
and essentially it's a
solutions.
lifestyle solution. A lifestyle change really was is for the better, right? And
Yeah,
it's and and like I said, we talked about this a couple of times already. But once people get past that, nervousness and and general discomfort about talking about these things, it becomes very easy to figure out what they need.
right,
And because going to a store, for example, they can buy something off the shelf somewhere, but they don't. They it might be something that looks cool that they might want, but it takes a conversation, a bit of a strategy session, if you will, to determine what they actually need,
right.
right? Depending on
Well, I
what they're.
think sexual awareness or sexual health is they're trying to make it okay. I mean, I see
Yep.
commercials all the time for ED, and then they're utilizing other products for that for gentlemen, which I think is awesome that they're really having those kind of conversations and
Yeah.
seeing it on TV and seeing that it's a real thing. So that's an amazing thing for me. Well, listen, I hate to wrap up this conversation, but we are out of time here. We got a couple questions for you, Jeff. First off,
Sure.
I want to share your quote because it's probably one of the best quotes I've heard all week. Only dead fish go with the flow. That no, I mean that is a powerful statement. I
Yes,
really kind of soaked that in when I read that. And I was like, "What do you mean?" And then I visualized it, and it's so true. Or at least they should be the only ones going with the flow. Maybe.
that's right.
I think
Yeah.
we should shake things up a little bit. Nothing
Yep.
changes unless something changes. So I
That's right.
think you and Amy doing what you're doing and being communicative about it, directive about it is a beautiful thing. So with that being said, we do have some really important questions, and it's going to dictate on how we continue a relationship on one of these questions. So I'm hoping you're going to answer it correctly. Okay, so
Okay.
first off, pool or beach?
Pool or beach?
Yeah, are you a
Okay.
pool guy or a beach guy?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say this. Picture a bit, picture a resort in the Caribbean, right?
Okay.
Beach, grab your towels, grab a chair first thing in the morning. Starts to get hot, move to the pool.
Okay. Fair enough.
So
Fair
I
enough.
do both, right?
Okay. Beer or wine?
Uh, okay. Well, I'm probably not answering the question the properly the way you want me to, but also beer. I don't drink as much anymore. You know, the hot day, mowing the lawn, sure,
For
but
sure.
yes, I much prefer a nice glass of red wine.
I'm a white wine guy. But isn't it crazy on how we are, especially as a guy, we are beer after grass mowing? Because that's what our
Yeah.
dads did, right? That's just
Yeah,
one of those things. I know we've been conditioned.
that's
Here
right.
is the big question here. This is the one that's going to determine where we go from here, Jeff. Are you ready for this one?
Okay. Yep.
Android or Apple?
Oh, I don't know how to answer this one. I've always been an Android
Let me see
guy.
your phone. Let me see your phone.
It's right here. There. Android. Oh, you can't see it.
That's
Doesn't
okay.
matter.
We're good. Yeah, we're good. So no problems. Jeff, why don't you tell us about a few products that are being featured currently?
Okay. Basically, the most popular ones are there's one called Wonder Oil, and it's one of those products where it's great for mosquito bites, small scratches, things like that, burns. It's a product that helps heal, right? So uh, it's one of our most popular products right now that's being, I would say, featured. Another one, just keep it quick, right? And then there's another one that is oh my gosh, the name just slipped my mind here. Give me 1 second here.
No, take your
Da-da-da.
time.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's
For
early in the
some reason,
morning, folks.
for me it is. Yeah, for me it is. It's the da-da-da-da. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna say what it is anyways. One of the most popular products. It's not a spa product. It's actually comes from the arousal line up to the bedroom accessories. Is a water-based lube for people
So,
because a lot of
I
people.
have a question. What's the difference between a water-based or a silicone-based?
Okay,
And when should
so
what be used accordingly?
all right, so the water-based one is one that is obviously it washes away more easily, right? First of all, everyone should be using one because this anytime you're using people using their hands for stimulating their partner or themselves, or whether they're using an accessory, there's always friction involved, right? And
Right.
and that can cause problems, right, for
We put
people,
oil in our
especially.
car. We can put
There you go.
lotions
Yeah,
or
there you
oils on
go.
our fingers. That's all I'm saying.
So the water-based one is the most popular one to use. There's also a hybrid silicone and water-based, which is something. And you mentioned oil because as especially for women as they get older, they start approaching menopause and things like that. Sometimes they're not producing their own fluids, right, as
For sure.
much. So the hybrid comes in handy there, and both of those can be used on the silicone accessories. Right, bedroom
Okay.
accessories, the toys, so to speak. But the full silicone one cannot be used on silicone because it starts to break down. Right, the toys, you don't
Got
want
it.
that, right? But it can also be used because it's waterproof. It's silicone, right? It can be used for water play and things like that in the tub. But the cool thing about, and I'll say this, the cool thing about the water-based lube, and this is what's fun about it, is it when it's applied, right, to let's say to the woman in this case, you don't have to apply more. It reactivates itself,
Oh
right?
wow.
And
Okay.
once you start, yeah, so you only need a little bit, and it just reactivates a couple of times before you have to use any more. So it's kind of
There you
neat
go.
that way.
Look, it's the gift that keeps giving.
That's right. You bet.
It's not even Christmas. Well, listen, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy. We look forward to seeing you guys back here next week with our new special guest. Any last words or anything, Jeff, that we could wrap up?
I just want to say, first, thanks for having me here. Of course, it's been a pleasure,
Yeah.
and I guess, if obviously I'd offer a strategy session to anyone who and give them a few tips on how to improve their relationships, and in the bedroom, particularly the bedroom. And I really want last thing I want to say is I really want people to stop struggling in that area and truly start living.
There it is. Pretty simple. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, Brian.